watch it later, or when he jumps on, he can just catch up. So we are recording now, and Matt, I'll send this to you when you're done. So if everyone, you should be able to see, you should see a screen right now. Paige has pulled up the Easy Reporter interface screen. Do you guys see that? And if you can't speak, you can use the chat box in the Zoom. There should be a chat button down at the bottom. If you need to type in a question, you can. So Matt, can you see Paige's screen? You're on mute. Hello, anyone? All right, well, Paige, I'm going to assume that they can see it unless we hear otherwise. So go ahead, and you have the floor now.
All righty. Well, thanks, Chris. And yeah, you guys definitely speak up if you're not seeing something as I'm maneuvering. I'm going to start here where I've already logged into Easy Reporter. So I'm in my SAP system, which could be an ECP system as well. And I've already logged into the main screen of Easy Reporter. And so what you see on the left are some folders, the reports that you build as well as the reports that we pre-deliver for the customers are all housed in the folders. And I have an example in my drafts that I worked up for today. So just to show you that, I am drilling into my draft folder, and here's the report, and this is where we're going to start. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run this report, show you a little bit about how it is created. Let's see. I'm going to pick a variant. Just like standard SAP, you can save your selection options into a variant and then use it later. So I've got a variant already out there. I'm going to come over here and run the report in foreground. You do have the option for foreground versus background, but we're just going to do foreground today. So you can see it's doing the authorization check down at the bottom. Now this pop-up is because I have this particular report configured to create an interface file to be saved, as you can see here on my desktop. So it's just asking, is it okay to do that, to save it out there? All right, and we'll go take a look at the actual file here in just a minute. But here's my results, just looking at the ALV screen of my Easy Reporter report. Just a quick little sample that I built, for the purpose of this illustration. So this one has employee number, it has company code, department, division, business unit, cost center, and pay group. Those are all fields coming from Employee Central. They could come from either on-prem or ECP, or if you're using Employee Central, we can loop in and grab the fields there. So I have those coming from Employee Central. And then just to show, hey, I can have some payroll results, I threw a wage type on the report and let it run for this entire time frame and sum up all the numbers, just so I get a dollar amount out there. So this is my simple report, just to show you an example. And if I pull up on my desktop, since it ran and created the file, I'm going to open it up in Notepad just to give you an idea what it looks like, and then we're going to go pull this apart.
Hello, this is Roberto.
Hello.
Hello, Roberto. Thanks for joining.
I'm sorry I had trouble joining, but I'm here.
No worries. Oh. We've got you here now, and I am recording this session as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, great. Okay, so here is my little file that popped out to my desktop. So you can see it does have a header. It has a footer, which is just a row count is all I put on here. And then here is that same detail that you saw on the ALV display formatted for the interface file. Well, like I said, we're going to kind of tear this apart here in just a minute so you can see how this was built. One thing, take note of this. All these columns were on that report when you were looking at it in the display, except for this one over here. I have this final column that says union. What I did was I built a mapping that said as the interface file is created, look at this pay group code, and if it's a P2, put the word union. It's a union employee, in other words. So I'm going to show you that as well, the way you could use mappings to even build out more information into the interface file than what was in the original Easy Reporter report. Okay, so we'll keep that up, and let's get back to the system. All right, so here we were looking at the report. We're going to go into edit mode and kind of talk through how this report is constructed. So I use my little pencil here to take me to edit mode. If you've never seen a demo of just Easy Reporter by itself, it does consist of 7 tabs that you step through to configure your reports. Tab 5 is where we will go to actually configure this interface file. So we'll go there in just a moment. I thought I would show you tab 2 really quickly. That's where you actually build out the reports themselves, whether it's going to be interface file or just a simple report. You come to tab 2 and you drag your fields from the left, which is all the available data fields that we have. For example, here you can see the folder for Employee Central fields. It's like 25,000 plus fields that are available in Easy Reporter. So they're all in these folders that you can drill into, drag and drop to the middle here, and that's how you get the column on the report. So you can see here, those are those columns on this report that I already set up. So that's a little bit about just building the report in general, regardless of whether you want it to be an interface file. Then we're going to go the next step and say, okay, we do want this one to create interface file output. So that's done on tab 5, and I'm going to actually drill into how it's all done. So when I come to tab 5, you do see this is where users can also say, hey, I want these results to automatically be emailed out. We have a lot of functionality behind that. Output to a file is where we're going to go to create our interface file. You can create non-quote-unquote interface files as well. I mean, if you want your output to just create a PDF or an Excel, if you want that, emailed to someone like I was saying, or you just want to create this file and have it saved out, in a folder somewhere, all of that's available here. As sort of a subset of that, I guess you would say, is the interface file creation. And so that's, what we're going to particularly look at right now. So under my output to file, got 3 possibilities here. The first one I've already renamed as interface file. And so that's where we're going to dig into this one. You can see here, once I double click on it, description originally said file output 1. I changed it to interface file. Next field down, output to a file, has the options to say, do I want it to be a PC file, so like downloaded to my desktop like I'm doing? Do I want it saved out on the SAP app server? You can do that and enter in the path. Or you can even say, I want it saved out on the FTP server. Whatever you choose here, the screen will change underneath to give you different fields so you can enter that information. So ours is the top one, PC file. With that, you get a browsable button here, with the drop down where you go in there and you say, where's your path? Where do you want this saved to? So obviously there's my desktop. I gave it a name. I actually named it interface test _. The reason why I did it that way is I also checked the box to say date added to file name. So when it creates the file, it will actually put today's date, and I wanted that underscore separating those. You can also have the time added to the file name as well. So obviously, there's benefit there if you're creating multiples, you're like on a repeating basis and you don't want to overwrite. You can have the unique name based on the date and time. Under file type, notice it says interface file. The other options are all those other ways I said, hey, if you just want to create a file, not necessarily a quote-unquote interface file, create a PDF, create an Excel, create a text file. All of those are possible and could be just saved out wherever you wanted. We're, however, going to go down the path of the interface file. And in fact, I'm going to pick PDF for a second. If I change this to PDF, watch this settings button. PDF. Okay, no settings button, all right? But when you say, I want this to be an interface file, the settings button pops up, and that's where we drill into and we define how we want this interface file built. So this is that really cool part where you don't have to use ABAP, you don't have to be somebody who's a programmer. It's just literally, hey, picking the file, saying, here's where I want it. It goes in this field. Some other things before we go there, some other things to note here. If you have encryption software loaded on your app server, you can pick that here. You can add that to available options here that are in this drop down and allow you to encrypt the output. Conditional settings actually allows you to add in some logic to say, hey, I want to create this file based on this data, but maybe I want to filter it. I only want this file to consist of the people where company code was something, or so you can add conditions on that output coming out and like limit what's going to be in that file. You have the ability to compress it into a zip file if you desire. If you select that, it's going to give you another field popped up here so you can name it. You can create a check file that'll just let you know that the process completed. Then we have some selections under alternative code page. There are a ton of drop downs here that you can select from. Let me hit the little green check there. So you have all these different code page options there. Oops. Let me close that up. All right, so those are all options right here on this opening screen. You're getting ready to set up your file, but now we're going to drill into the actual settings behind the interface file. So before I do that, let me stop. Anything anybody wants to revisit before I move on?
Yeah, just quickly, on the encryption, does that allow for PGP encryption as well?
For what kind? Oh, did you say?
PGP encryption.
Well, now you're asking me a technical thing I don't know, but I will. You know what? I'll find out. I know, everything I've read is, hey, whatever encryption software they have loaded, we can utilize it, but I don't want to say yes on something that, so let me.
Paige, why don't you go ahead and continue? I'll text Gallo and ask him.
Perfect. Do that.
Yeah, I think you can probably just click on encryption settings, and I think on a drop down it'll likely show you if you want to do that quickly.
Well, it's only going to show what we've. Oh, I got to take that off.
Okay. Then.
Let me pop out here. It's sensing the fact I hit the checkbox. All right, let me pick something here. Let me get out of that. So we go here. It's too smart for its own good. It knows I left that off. All right. So maybe now I can open it up. Take that off. Yeah, there's an additional step where you have to, an Easy Reporter, say, hey, here's the encryption we have loaded. Now I want to make it available in Easy Reporter. And so that's all we're seeing here is what we've made available.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just asking because that's what we typically use. Then just on the on the interface file, the XML file, is that does that have to be produced to an actual file, or are there any options to send that to a web service, to a URL?
Ooh, all I know is that we could do it as an FTP. That's the closest I think you could come there.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and here are your destination fields and such. I mean, Chris, feel free to ping Stephen on that to make sure it's not something in the works, but I don't believe we have a way to say.
I'm sorry, what was that question again? How would I phrase that?
To send it.
Just whether you can. So yeah, whether you can send the XML file, the interface file, whether you can send that to a web service rather than to an FTP.
Gotcha. Okay, I will ask him. Thanks.
And then lastly, I just want to check on the FTP if that allows for secure FTP with obviously certificate authentication.
My understanding on that is no, we don't have that currently. It's kind of like on the roadmap that we keep talking about it, but that we don't. But Chris, go ahead.
I'll ask him those two things.
Yep, go ahead while you're doing. Okay, so all right, so let's look at the actual configuration. How do we create? So when I click on that settings button, here are the things that I, as the person designing this, needs to answer. First of all, interface type. My options are tab delimited, comma delimited, that we've already defined for you, fixed length, or there is just delimited that doesn't say by what character. So it says like a pre-programmed comma or tab. If I pick just delimited, it will give me then an extra box to enter what delimiting character, like if it's a pipe, for example. I'm going to flip back here to where we are on hours. The next thing is, besides picking what type of format, you now can configure your header. There's a place to configure the footer, and then here's your place to go in there and actually, configure the records that are going to make up the body. I've got all three, it's all optional. You don't have to have a header, you don't have to have a footer. This little report's got all three. If you remember, we had a little header record coming up here right there. So here's what it looks like. I come in here to do it. So say here I am, the not super technical person, and I just know what I want in my header. My drop down field here is everything on my report. So all those fields that we had on the report itself, like employee number, company, etc. Remember that dollar amount was there. So those are all available. So maybe company code, something I want in the header, possibly. And then I do have some other fields to pick from that SpinFX provides, things that would be, commonly used in a header. So for this particular example, I used interface file name. The second one, I did the file run date, and then I did the run time. Then for the fourth field here, I used the free text just to illustrate that and put, ID, spin 1, 2, 3, 4. You have the ability to mark it as mandatory, in which case it'll come out as the entire record as being errored. And that's true as well on the individual employee records if something is not populated. You have length out here. Now, if it's a fixed length, if you chose fixed length, you're going to have to put something here. Otherwise, it's optional. And there's some formatting as well, and I'll show you that. It's exactly the same when we get to the actual body. So I'm going to show you the format when we get there, the options that are over there. But that's how easy it is to configure the header. Configuring the footer, same idea. I came over here and I said, for my footer, I think I'll just put this record count, which is one of the fields that we just deliver here in the drop down. Otherwise, I could have picked anything else I had already built into my Easy Report. And there's my footer. In the middle here, where I'm going to actually configure what do I want each employee's record to have. When I click on that, few things to notice on this pop-up. You can wrap your records with subheaders and subfooters configured very similarly on the screen, just like you saw. Or you can just go directly into the body, which is what we're going to do. Something else kind of cool up here is notice the interface data source, and it says by default, execute the current Easy Reporter report. Makes sense that you're wanting the system to run this report that you're in, bring back those fields, and that's what you're using. But you do have the ability here to say, no, actually, I want to pick another Easy Reporter report. So it gives you that ability to like maybe have more than one data source in a way, more than one Easy Reporter report from the background feeding into the one file. If you pick the other, then it's going to pop up a little box and you would then browse and say which other Easy Reporter report you want to run there. I have a customer who did this because they had three individual Easy Reporter reports that they wanted combined into one vendor interface file. And so they did it through this way. I mean, could they have built one big many columns report in Easy Reporter and just got it all in one? Yes, you could, but sometimes it's just easier, to kind of piece things out and say, oh, here's my demographics one, and maybe I'm going to reuse it in lots of files. It's just basic employee demographics. And then I have this second one over here that's benefits, and I'm joining them together for this interface. So it's a really nice functionality to be aware of. Oops, I need to go back in there, because I'm going to go into the body. So I'm going to configure the actual records.
Hey, Paige.
Yeah.
When you get a breaking point, I have an answer from Stephen.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead now. Sure.
Okay. So I asked him basically those three things about the PGP encryption and the FTP sites versus web services, and then the secure FTP site. He said, at this time, we don't do any of this. It would require a third-party software after we write the file. So the file would go through that third-party software to do that.
Right. Okay.
And that's at this time. Yeah, there it is. Like Paige said, it will be on the roadmap at some point. If it becomes a critical issue, just so you guys are aware, if you find a customer that absolutely has to have this, and that's the one key thing that they will buy our solution about, let me know, because we can always bump things up the priority list of development.
Sure. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Chris, for getting that. Excellent. Okay, so here we are. This is the actual, employee data information. So you can see all I've done is come in here and from my drop down, showing the fields for my report, pick them. So I wanted employee number, company, department, division, basically everything that you saw, and when we were looking at it in the ALV format. So a few things to point out here, though. Let's see. Under the year-to-date gross, told you I would show you a format. That's what my little pencil over here says, format output. So I'm going to pull that up. This particular dollar amount, I chose to remove the decimal symbol. So I wanted to show you that little checkbox here. There's a couple different similar sounding choices here. Removing the decimal symbol just takes the decimal point out, but still keeps those cents on the result. If you wanted to remove decimals, that would be like truncating. Some other things that you can do, and this is on any of the report, on any of the fields, not just the dollar amounts, but on any of the fields, you can come over here, write justified or add leading zeros. So sometimes that comes into play with, employee numbers or something where you need to fill in the leading zeros. So we have those are options, as well as the ability to define your mask for date and times here. So that's the little format button that's available on every row, header, footer, the records, all of the rows. You have the ability to do that. Another thing I wanted to show you on here is, remember when we were over here at the output, I had the word union popping in, a new column, based on if the people were in the pay group P2. So the way that works, that's a mapping. So what I did was I set up for this column, I did not pick a field, I did not put in any free text, and I used a mapping button and said, okay, I want you to look at this field from the report. It's going to have to be on the report so that I can make a decision, but look at this field. If it equals P2, put in the value of union. And so that's exactly how we got that on the interface file. And just a little bit of background about mappings like this. You can do this at the report level. So if you wanted, your report to come out, so when people are looking at it on the screen, any output, it's being emailed to people. If you just want the output, the original output from the Easy Reporter report to have a mapped column like this, you can do it at that level. That's back when I said we were on tab 2 and we were like where we could drag our fields on. That's where we can build mappings. So you can do it at that level, or if you want it to be something particular for this particular output, you could hold off and say, no, I'll do it at the interface level and build your mapping right here. So hopefully that makes sense. Let me know. Questions? Okay.
Not for now.
All right. So, hey, you know what? I think we have gone through everything I wanted to show you, because if we come back over here, we went through, we had the header, we had the footer, which was the record count. This was everything from the file. We had a mapping field. You can see the decimal point is missing under these dollar amounts right here. So there's that option. And I think I'm good with my example now. So other questions from you guys? Anything you want to revisit? Anything on the screen? Chris, anything you want to mention?
So I just, I know you kind of talked a little, I was going back and forth with Steven, so I kind of missed a little bit of what you were talking about. So I know you talked about the columns that are available, the data fields that are available. So for the M&H purposes, do you guys have any examples of the types of interfaces that they're looking to build?
Well, I'm sorry, Chris. I actually had one question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, can you please go back to where you're choosing the columns?
Sure. So back in here.
Because I saw that you had like, you said that there were about 25,000 different fields that you could use. Could you go to that specific place?
Yeah. Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit. So when you're building a report in easyreporter, say regardless of whether it's going to have an interface as the output or not, you come over here on tab 2, all the fields are in here, so you can see we have, like under master data, employee data, org data, GDPR, some special fields for that, info type data. That's where you see like all the individual PA info types, including if there's custom ones, they can be added here as well. If customers have custom ones, inside each of those, you would drill into the actual field itself. You want it on the report, you drag and drop. And by the way, there is a set filter button up here, because sometimes that seems overwhelming because people are like, well, yeah, but what if I don't know, the field where I need to grab it, what I want on my report? The set filter is basically your search function. And you can search it by like the kind of the free form name, like company code, or you could search it by the actual SAP technical field name. And then it will just show you those instances here and narrow down the folders. Like, let me show you. Let's just do
maybe do like salary or something easy.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was looking for, because I didn't see the button there. So
yeah, so if I do like company code, so what I have, fewer folders, and if I open it up, they're all showing me the field company code, but at least now I can really narrow down. Okay, am I wanting company code from the WPBP? Am I going to the payroll cluster wanting company code? Am I going to infotype 1 wanting company code? The travel infotype, so what am I trying to report on? But I've narrowed it down. And of course you can do a wildcard as well. Like here, we've done it with company asterisk. Oh, didn't find anything. What happened there? That's weird.
That is weird.
That is weird. Let's do a delete.
Yeah, maybe it's still registered it.
It's confused, maybe.
It's Monday. It's not ready to work.
I know. I've never had that. Let's try it again. Oh, I know why. Because it kept the little green equal sign.
Yeah.
So it was looking for actual company
asterisk.
Yeah. So yeah. So here we would get like anything with company and then something following. So a little bit more to pick from. Company housing.
And that's really helpful if you guys think about it. The end goal of our solutions is to help the business users. So if you think about this from a user perspective, someone in HR or payroll may not know where all the company code fields are. That filter will really be beneficial for the end users at the end of the day to be able to find the fields that they want for reports and interfaces.
Exactly. And also while we're here, I mentioned a mapping field that we did that mapping for that word union at the end. If you wanted it actually right here on on the report, instead of it being part of the file production, here's mapping fields. You simply pick one. They're generic. You pick one, you drag it on, and then you go into it, you drill into it, and you define it very similarly to what you saw. Like I would actually say, okay, look at pay group, just like we had on the file, include if it equals, I think it was P2, the value of union. So that, you say you could do it where if you wanted it on the report or if you wanted the mapping to happen later and only affect the one file, you throw the mapping field at the file level. That's where mappings are, along with calculation fields, substrings, concatenations, all those special things that we do where people don't have to dump it out to Excel to finish the report. We have them right here to be dragged on, and then they just tell it what they want it to do.
And Paige, what is that custom function fields?
Custom function fields are, they're not as technical sounding as you might think. That sounds like, user exit or something, and we actually have that as well. I'll show you that. But no, a custom function field, if I drag it on, it then allows me to go in here and say, it's really like fancy formatting. I can come in here and say, okay, I want you to take, remove decimal places, or convert date to day of the week, convert value to positive amount. So I've got just some
And
conversions I can do, and then I tell it what field from the report to do it to.
that actually is a good example. So if you guys know much about 401k files, the deduction shows negative in the tables. So you always have to convert them to a positive figure to send it off to the carrier. Same with benefits, things like that. Just special functions, yeah.
Special, yep. So that's what those are. And they always make me think of, down here, let me pull my window up. Advanced settings. Here is the, they're down here. No, what am I looking for? Am I in the wrong spot? Yeah, user exit. I'm blind. I'm like, what am I looking for? It was right there in front of me, but for some reason I wasn't seeing the word. There we go. Yeah, user exit. So you could actually, write some ABAP user exits, pull them in here. We deliver a couple things. And then otherwise, it's for customer, very particular needs. But they can write the user exit, pull it in here, and have it, do whatever needs to be done on the report. So to me, that's custom function makes me think of that. But
so
Exactly.
I'm going to throw my question back out there, if you don't mind. If just what types of interfaces have you guys been requested to build so far?
Okay, well, most of the interfaces are the traditional ones that we go through, like the integrations that we go from EC to SAP, let's say cost centers, employee information. But we do actually have other integrations where we need to get data from Employee Central and extract a set of data and convert that into a flat file, to a CSV file, and deliver it to an SFTP server, for example.
Okay.
I think that was one of the questions that Stian was asking, because sometimes the information must travel encrypted.
Yeah.
Sometimes clear text will do the job, but most of the times, if it's information that it's more delicate, then we need to actually encrypt it. Other than that, some of the integrations may be based on web services, which at this moment I don't think. Well, I heard that you don't support. But some of them would actually be flat files being delivered to not specifically to a user, like that you can download to your drive or anything, but it would be something delivered to an SFTP server, basically.
Okay.
And I think you would have two different ways of going about it, because we do give you the ability to directly out of Easy Reporter define it and say, hey, I want it to be going to this FTP server, and you fill in all the information. Or you could save it on your app server and have like a program that sweeps through and does the FTP. I know that traditionally, a lot of companies do that. They have some sort of program that sweeps through and moves things. And so, it might be that you would just do that, save it to the app server and not do our FTP here, but let your outside program in SAP take care of the FTP part, just kind of depending on needs and desires.
So I think it sounds like there might be some that we wouldn't be able to encrypt properly, but if they have a third-party software to do that, you can do it through there, correct, Paige?
Right. That's
So
my understanding.
we can still create the output file, then you would just process it through your third-party secure system and then send the file.
Right.
Okay. The one thing too, I don't know, Paige, if you talked about, I apologize if I missed it, is about the repeatableness of this process. Once you've set it up, it's done, type of thing. Yeah, you have it.
Smart again. It knows what I picked. All right, let's get out of that. Okay, yeah. So when you're setting up jobs to run, so I've got one there. Over here, report output. Yeah, so we went here. We did, report, execute report in foreground. They do have the ability to say background immediately or background scheduled. If you do the background scheduling, just like standard SAP, you can use SM37 to monitor the job. You can set it up to be repeating, just like you can with the SM37 jobs that that are initiated there. Have it repeat on the periodic basis.
Right.
And that does apply with the output as well. It's not only are you setting up the job to run and, pull together the results, you can also, anything you've attached to it in terms of output, whether it's emails or files or whatever, that's part of it, and that's going to occur as well.
Right. So again, trying to make the end user process more streamlined is the goal of this. Is when the benefits, let's say a benefits interface each month has to go to a insurance carrier. There's no manual efforts whatsoever. It's just automatically set up to run on the first of the month, pulling the fields that you've already identified in that interface. And then let's say come open enrollment time at the end of the year, you've added a new benefit plan and you have to add a new deduction. It's very easy to go back in and just quickly edit the interface file to add that new column of information, or let's say they want, instead of social security number, they want birth date or something like that. It's very easy to manipulate and edit the files without spending a whole lot of time and effort. Again, just trying to focus on the ongoing ROI for the business itself, in addition to helping them get implemented and up and running.
Okay.
Was there anything else, Paige? I was just thinking about, we've got the output, the scheduling of the jobs and things like that we'd want to focus on that these guys might not have seen before. Some, like, I don't know, if the distribution type stuff. Because in addition to creating the interface file, you could have it send a report of that file to, say, the benefits manager, so they could confirm that the file went and what was in the file.
Exactly.
So have it do it 2 ways.
Yeah, so we do give you with the output to email, and it's not like either or. It's not like, oh, I can have a file or I can do emails from this report. You can do both. You can set up both things to happen from the same report. Obviously, you go into email contents, you give it like a subject line and a text, and then you tell it when this report comes across on this email, it's actually going to be an attachment. So you tell it what kind of attachment. Do you want it to be Excel? Do you want it to be PDF, etc.? You give it a name and such. Do you want to make it a zip file? So we have, several little options here. Then we have a separate little tab. Oh, hang on, sorry about that. Where you define the recipients or recipient, one or multiple people that you want to receive, this output, this email with that attachment. And you actually can get pretty sophisticated about it, because we have some fields out here that allow you to attach conditions. So you can actually, if you have a report of, say, employee demographics, it's pretty large, it's covering the entire employee population, and it needs to go out to various people, and each person really just needs a part of it, maybe based on cost center or personal area or, whatever it might be. You can build that in here, and you can say, hey, it goes to this person if cost center is such and such. Or, it can be based on like dollar values. It can be, hey, look at this file, and if annual salary is more than $100,000, it goes on a report to the CEO, because he wants to know everyone who's making, that much money. So anything that's a field in your report, you can define here some conditions and say, okay, parse it out. Take this report, send this piece to this person based on meeting these conditions. Or, of course, that's all optional. You can also just say, hey, just send the whole report to someone. And you can say multiple recipients all set up. So pretty powerful capabilities here in terms of, all the different ways that you can have the output go.
And one of the use cases we've seen, fellows, in the past for this is a lot with the union representation. Union, they want the dues, or they need files of different benefit fields or that sort of thing, but they also want a report to come along with it. So you could have the file go and at the same time email out to a vendor or to a third party an actual copy of that file. So there's just a lot of different opportunities to be able to streamline the manual processes that are going on in the HR and payroll worlds to help alleviate a lot of that ongoing support that they need from IT.
And FYI, since we're here, I don't want to get off topic, but I just thought I'd mention it. This third tab, data import options, I'm actually going to plan on showing that when we do the demo as a way of importing in, external data, like from PeopleSoft, and including it in a report, which then allows you to do comparisons. So that data import tab, kind of the opposite of that output, we'll be touching on that quite a bit during the demo. So just FYI.
If you guys, I know we've got about 15 minutes left in the hour. Is that something you guys would be interested to see how it works today?
I don't think this particular group needs to see that.
Okay. All
yeah,
right.
Their main focus is just integrations.
Okay. No worries. So if you guys can think about it and think about some different scenarios, what would help us, Matt, is to better understand what you guys need right now in interfaces, and we could actually go through that list and tell you which ones we could build right away, or some of them may even be our out-of-the-box pre-delivered reports that just need to be converted to an interface. So that's something we could actually help you analyze and see what could be just, stricken as quickly done right off the bat.
Okay, I'll talk with the guys. See what we can put together.
Yep. And let us know. And then, like I said, this is recorded. We'll send it along to you guys. If there's anything else you want to see at any point in time, please just reach out to us. We're happy to jump on the phone and walk through some functionality so you can help you better understand how our solutions can help you in the implementation. And then we're looking forward to the show, in a couple weeks with Man and Hummel. I know Jean's looking forward to it. So just kind of keep in the back of your mind how we can help you, and then you can help us articulate that at that demonstration as well.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for the demo. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.